Alright, let's animate a jet engine. So here is what I have, and we'll go through the process of making this. And we will attach this to cards that are parented to the spaceships in 3D space, and we'll render this sequence out through that, so it's all stuck to our actual spaceships, and it looks like this is the engine emitting fire to propel them. So we'll just create this cool animated effect. So let's begin by creating a constant, and we can make this a bit smaller, and let's make this 1k square, and let's create a rotopaint node, and here let's click and hold on the Bezier curve, and let's select the ellipse instead, and let's just draw a circle, and we can scale it a little bit. Okay, and let's blur it. Okay, maybe that much. And let's just bring this down a little bit, and let's make it a bit smaller. Okay. And let's also create a noise. And if we plug this in here, this inherits the format of this constant. So again, 1k square. And here in the noise, let's set the size to maybe about this much. And let's animate the Z here. So maybe half. Okay. And let's set keys for this transform. And I want this to be propelling very fast, so I'll enter a crazy amount. Okay, that's actually not too crazy. It was crazier in my mind, maybe. Let's do 500. And here, let's maybe put this up to 0.6. Okay. And let's again blur this a little bit. Okay, maybe that much. And let's just drop the gain a little bit so it's a little bit more contrasted. And let's go back to our circle. And let's create a corner pin node again. And let's just have a look. I kind of want to create something that's slightly like this shape. And we can transform this. And scale a little bit. Okay. And let's just multiply this using multiply merge node. And let's just plug these two in. And so now we have this sphere that looks like it's kind of moving. But I think in the middle I would like to keep this white. So let's just create a quick mask. I'll do it like this maybe. And let's invert this in the shape tab. And let's just blur it. Something like this. We could actually also squish it a little bit. Oh, whoops. Let's put this in the middle. Okay, so now it looks like we have this patch in the middle that is maybe emitting this. And let's again use our shuffle copy technique from earlier. So forward here. Okay, and let's create our noise. Actually, let's instead just copy the one we already made. So let's just Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. And we can change this out with the other node by holding down Control and Shift, or sorry, selecting it and dragging it and then holding Control and Shift and dropping it on, and it switches the two nodes out. So let's just delete the other one. And this one, let's see, maybe let's reduce this to be much lower. So these are even more elongated noise patterns. And here we could have these go even quicker. And let's create an iDistort node again. And let's just select our forward channel. And for the UV scale, let's enter something crazy. Let's have a look. Okay, so now this noise is creating these sort of patterns, which is quite cool. These look like some sort of emissions. But what we could do is transform this a bit and merge them together, what we had previously with this, and use the transform node to push it up in Y. And let's maybe even stretch it a bit. Alright. And I think we could have this effect only start a little bit higher up on the flame. So here in our iDistort, let's just rotate this, and we'll just use a rectangle and just select the top portion. So the bottom of it, I don't want to be distorting. I want it to seem like it's emitting from a controlled source and then becoming wilder as it goes. So I think that's better than this was. And merging the two together, I think we can lower this a bit more. Alright, maybe let's drag this out a little bit more. So this is kind of cool already. I think we can transform it a bit though. And just let's scale this up in height. And let's move it up a bit. Let's just stick to 0 on X. Okay. And I think let's run this through another iDistort. So let's just copy all of this and paste it here. And let's just change these values to be a lot bigger, something like this. And transform. Okay, that's pretty good. And here, maybe let's just up this as well. And let's have a look now. Actually, let's see, maybe let's move this mask up a bit. And maybe I'll reduce this slightly. Okay, let's have a look. Alright, so now we're getting an even wilder fire that is sort of undulating a lot more. We can of course up this slightly more even in order to have it be more wavy. So here in my artwork, the spaceships I'm creating are sort of old and used, so I'm kind of creating this unstable sort of weak flame. For your project, maybe you'll want to do something that is a lot more powerful, like modern or sci-fi jets, things like that, where it would just be a straight flame. But it's interesting to show you these techniques. Let's create some extra effect down here. Let's just copy this constant that we have, put it here, and we'll create another RotoPaint node. And we can select another node to view, but in our RotoPaint we can still have the selection showing. So it's quite useful for determining exactly where you need to create stuff. So let's do that. And let's just blur this a bit. Like so. And let's copy this setup. And I think I'll want to change the scale of this quite a bit. Maybe to something like this, and also have it travel further in the transformation, like so. And even here we can make this a much higher value. Okay, maybe not that high. Okay, then let's have a look. So this is a bit more of a, I guess, energetic effect. And I think we can merge the two together. And we can always add a transform node here. To put this slightly more like this. Awesome. And let's do another layer of this distortion. And we'll reduce this right down to something like this. Alright, and here in the edit, we can have, well, first of all, let's delete this. We can have maybe 20 by 40. So we have a little bit more of this subtle effect. Maybe that's still too much. Let's do 10 to 20. Okay. We could also enhance this by creating a copy of it. Maybe let's change this shape slightly. And here in the noise, we'll transform it in X just to get a different pattern. So it's previously this, now it's this. Just to get it to be slightly different from that. And here we have our ID. And I think I'll increase this value. And let's have a look at how this would look like if we, let's just shift these sideways. If we created a merge node and plug them both in, and then set this to difference, and see what we get. Okay, not quite what I want. Let's go back in here. Maybe let's reduce the gamma of this even more. And also, let's add a color correct node. And here we'll just up the contrast to 4. And see what this gives us. Okay, now this is a much more contrasty version. So basically, with our eye distort, we get this result. And our original is this. So what the difference merge node does is basically take these two and find what pixels are different between them and just show you those. So we get just this effect of these particles streaming. So that's quite cool. And we can also add more to this by again copying this and plugging it in. And that's the cool thing about Nuke. You can just stack these effects on top of each other forever. So let's take this noise and let's just make this 100. Make the Z transformations 1. Maybe we can make it even a bit more contrasty. And here, let's again offset this value a little bit. We can make these a little bit slower. Okay, so this is the noise that we have. It's a movement like this. And let's go into our eye distort and see how this affects the image. So we're getting some distortions. Maybe not quite what I wanted. Let's reduce the size a bit. Okay, let's see. Maybe let's increase the gain in the color correct. And again, increase the size a bit. And let's reduce the speed of this noise maybe to 500. Alright, so now we're getting this cool warping effect, sort of like particles coming out of something. So let's take it and let's add it to our setup. So let's just create a merge node. And we'll want to transform this. And move it up like this. Maybe do this with it. Okay. So now that's starting to look quite cool. And what we can do is we can add a grid warp and connect the source to our layer. And let's just draw a shape around where we want it. And we can reduce the divisions a little bit. And let's set a keyframe on frame 1. Actually, we don't even need a keyframe, this won't be animated. And let's just squish this a bit like so. Just creating a slightly more exciting shape for this sort of jet. And let's transform it. And let's just scale it a bit so it takes up more of our image. Don't worry too much about quality. This can be quite rough. So this is the result we have. And it's cool, but we just have this tiny problem of this area. So what we have to do is just go into our grid warp and change the background to on black. And that disappears. And now we can, if we want, we can add a little bit of color correct in order to make this look a little bit cooler. So let's go into gain on the shadows. Let's make this quite red, quite orangey, and then let's do the same for our midtones, and again let's just kind of repeat that. And the highlights we can make like this. Okay, cool. And so we have our jet engine effect that we can then apply in 3D for some cool results. And it's quick and it's quite unique. And I would say it's a fun thing to make. It's a pretty fun technique. So this is my final result. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the tutorial.